I want to go over an extremely intuitive solution to the 4x4 Rubik's Cube, basically reducing it to a 2x2 Rubik's Cube. So the first thing I want to go over are some 2x2 algorithms. The first one is rotating a corner. Now when I say algorithms, I mean an extremely short and very intuitive algorithm that you can remember just by feel. You never have to memorize long algorithms in my solution. So here it is. Here's the rotation of a single corner. Basically, you put the side down, you put the corner to the back, put the side up, put an adjacent side down, flip the corner from the back to the front, and put the adjacent side back up. So this is a common 2x2 algorithm. So to solve the 4x4, it would be great if a person is already familiar with 2x2 as well as 3x3 solutions, but more importantly, the 2x2 solutions. Now the second thing I want to go over is swapping two corners. Swapping two corners of a 2x2 while keeping the other two pieces of the 2x2. So here I'm choosing different colors to make the corner swap more pleasant. And it's a very simple move. You see, these two are going to just move to adjacent spots. You see, these two corners are now just simply at adjacent spots. Now I just need to rotate one of them. Remember, we just went over the rotation algorithm. We just need to rotate one of them. And we rotate them by first flipping the forward side down, putting the corner to the back, forward side back up, and adjacent side down. See? So now we've essentially swapped two of these two corners in the 2x2. So now I'm going to put the cube back into its original place. So the 4x4 Rubik's Cube actually has some nice symmetrical properties that the 3x3 doesn't. So in a sense, the algorithms or the moves to get you to a 4x4 solution are actually simpler than the 3x3 in my case, but you have to perform more of them because there are just simply more things you have to put into place, more size and pieces you have to put into place. So right now I'm just trying to solve the 2x2 back to its original form to show you something else before I begin the full-on 4x4 solution. So the solution I'm about to show you is not move efficient. In fact, you're repeating lots of simple moves over and over again. So you see, I never memorize algorithms. I just go by feel, and sometimes I have to. There we go. I've put the 4x4 back into place. So now I'm going to show you how to swap two middle pieces from adjacent sides. So watch this move carefully, because this will be used a lot, but it's the same simple move to swap any two middle pieces from adjacent sides. So you see now that the pink and the green are swapped. So what this is actually extremely powerful. What this does for us is it makes it so that we can solve all the middle pieces of the entire 4x4 independently of all the side pieces. So here I'm just swapping them back. So now essentially we can solve all the sides of the cube and the middle of the cube separately. This concept drastically simplifies the task of solving the 4x4 Rubik's Cube. Now here's an unsolved cube. So I'm going to actually first begin by simply solving the first two layers of the 4x4. Now this solution is going to be similar to solving a 3x3 Rubik's Cube by layers. However, my entire solution is by no means reducing the 4x4 to a 3x3, because that's, in my opinion, not a very intuitive way of solving the 4x4 Rubik's Cube. And if you buy a 4x4 Rubik's Cube, chances are you're not trying to reduce it to a 3x3. You want something like a new challenge. So here, the ways to solve two layers of the 4x4 is actually extremely similar to the way we solve two layers of the 3x3. But the similarities end there. So once these two layers come together, the remainder of the solution is actually very different. So I'm always just thinking about every move. I'm never executing a long memorized move. So here I'm just solving the first layer of the 4x4. It's extremely similar to the 3x3. The degree of difficulty is marginally higher than the first two layers of the 3x3. But it takes longer just simply for the fact that it has there's more pieces to move into place. So I'm almost there. There's two side pieces left. So here I'm moving pieces from the bottom to the side. This is extremely similar to what you might do in the 3x3 case. So here it's a slightly complicated move, but not one that you need to memorize. And it's a similar move to lots of other moves where you move a side down, rotate a corner away, move the side back up, move an adjacent side down, rotate the away corner, back, and then move the adjacent side back up. So here I believe I'm performing the middle swaps, swapping middle pieces to complete the first two layers. This is actually not necessary, as we will, in the end, we have a chance after we solved all the sides to solve any middle piece. But it just makes the remainder of the solution slightly simpler, because two sides will be completely solved, and the four corners of the two sides that are completely solved will remain solved, the four 2x2 corners. So here I'm swapping more pieces to complete the first two layers. This move of swapping two center pieces is one that we will be doing a lot. We're doing it here, and we will do it more at the end. So I need to swap an orange piece to the top before I can swap it to the... Oh, never mind. I'm not doing that one. Oh, Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm swapping the orange piece to the top, and now I'm swapping the orange piece into this position. Oh, let me see if I can figure out what I did wrong. Nope, nope. Yes, that's right. Okay, so now two sides of the 4x4 are completely solved. Now we're going to scramble the 2x2 components of the 4x4 that we just solved. But the fact that the four 2x2 pieces of the bottom two layers are solved helps us. Now we're going to solve the top layers. So the first thing I do is solve the top, the edges of the very top layer. This can be done with just a series of corner rotations. For instance, I'm going to rotate this corner so that a portion of the top now lines up, top edges. The centers, the top centers and side centers we'll worry about at the end. So now you see the bottom is scrambled, but the top is now more aligned. A couple of the top edges are aligned. So now I just rotate. You see, I find another edge I can rotate to the top. I find this edge. I just perform the 2x2 corner rotation to rotate to the top. There we go. So eventually you can just spam this same routine until you get all the edges on the top to be lined up with the corners. So you see now I just rotate this corner. You see now this entire corner of the top is solved. Now I may have to rotate a corner just to get a side to line up to be able to rotate to the top. Oh, here we found one where I can rotate that to the top. So now how much, oh, I can now rotate this to the top. The top is coming together. Now I think I may have to perform a rotation just so I can line up a side to then rotate to the top. But it's just a series of corner rotations. So now the entire top, the sides are lined up with the corners. We've reduced the size to a 2x2 for the entire top layer. Now we just have to line up the top layer to the second layer. So there's one key note. This is probably the most difficult part of the 4x4 solution. Now notice that I got lucky this time. So the top layer corners are already lined up. This is actually not what I want for the purpose of this demonstration. So I'm going to scramble it a little bit so that the top layer sides are still solved for each corner, but they're not lined up to the second layer. Oh, I confused myself. See, I never use algorithms, so sometimes I do get confused, and I just try to think through it based on the moves that I know by muscle memory. So now the top is solved, but it doesn't perfectly align with the second layer. Now I'm only talking about edge pieces, edges and corners. We're ignoring the centers until the very end. So here's the trick. Here's the main point, probably the most difficult point of my solution. Now, there is a way to swap two 2x2 corners. Swapping two adjacent corners, not diagonal corners, such that the top and the second layer edges and corners will line up. The trick is to figure out which two. And you really have to examine the cube and think about how the pieces line up with each other to figure this out. It's going to take me a minute to actually figure it out. Basically, I look at which top corner lines up with which second layer edge side. So this is the corner swap that we went over at the very beginning of the video. It's a swap and then a rotation. So, no, I did it wrong, but because I didn't do it correctly, because this is in fact can get quite tricky. So I'm trying it again. Basically, find two 2x2 corners that I can swap, so that the top corners and the second layer edges line up in color. So I'm performing the swap and the rotation, and now they will line up if I did it correctly. And we see that they do. So at this point, the solution, the remainder of the solution is much easier. We use the sides and corners to now solve the 2x2. You see, I never memorize any algorithms. I always have to think through and repeat simple moves that I know to get pieces in the right place. This leads to things like 20-minute solutions. But here, all I'm doing is solving the 2x2. So here I think I'm 2 corner swaps away from solving a 2x2. Basically, you do two corner rotations. Sorry, one the opposite of the other on the same corner, and the cube will be solved. So now I've solved the 2x2, and the remaining part is just swapping middle pieces to line up with each other. And here we're just going to span the middle piece swapping move that we talked about at the beginning of the video. I think I'm almost there. Last piece. And there you go. A long-winded but intuitive solution of the 4x4 Rubik's Cube, reducing it to a 2x2.